Welcome to Nomadic Diaries, a podcast revealing secrets of life lived overseas. We use storytelling to deliver insight and information on what it takes to live, love, move, and travel across the globe. Our guests are professionals from the world of global mobility. We hope that by opening their diaries to share their wisdom, that you, our listener, can benefit and enjoy more ease and grace in your expat life abroad. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on the globe. We are Nomadic Diaries. My name is Doreen Cumberford, and my show host is Sharon Fields. And today, John Palmer, my life partner, will be interviewing us about Nomadic Diaries. Can you take it away, John?
I'll do that. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to ask each of them several questions, and hopefully these questions will answer all the questions you need to understand what you can see or what can you hear on the podcast. Sharon, could you introduce yourself and say a little bit about who you are and why you're here?
Certainly. Sharon Fields. I've been a full-time house and pet sitter for the past 11 years, which included traveling the globe to accomplish that task. I am a friend and house sitter and fellow nomad of Doreen and John's, and we're excited to start our adventure and share with you.
And Doreen, can you say a little bit about yourself too?
Certainly. I have been a serial expat for most of my life. I have lived abroad in different countries in every decade from my 20s until my 70s. We have experience across the globe I've been a accompanying spouse. I have been a diplomat in my own right. I have been a corporate employee. And from launching to landing, we have lots of experience, and we wanted to share that with the audience.
I want to start with Doreen. Why did you name the podcast Nomadic Diaries?
Well, we believe that the nomadic communities, whether you're short-term nomad or long-term nomad, there are mindsets and there are ways of thinking that you grow and develop along the way because you become a global citizen. And we felt like these things were important. They're hidden. They're usually invisible. They're like hidden inside a diary or inside a page. And we wanted to shine the light on these secrets.
What do you hope that your listeners will get out of listening to these podcasts?
I hope that our listeners will be more equipped to launch adventures, whether they're short-term or long-term, that they will grow in the process with us as we share the information and knowledge that's out there, and that they will have an easier, more joy-filled and fun experience that is meaningful for their travels.
And Sharon, do you have anything to add to that?
I totally agree. I want everyone to expand their mind, their understanding, and their enthusiasm to travel, whether it's short or long.
What difference would it make to our listeners having heard some of your guests in their life experience, Sharon?
Well, we share secrets. We started out with Nomadic Diaries, revealing secrets of life on the move. So we'll share secrets from short-term nomads, long-term intercultural people who have traveled most of their lives. We have a lot of years of experience from our guests.
And Doreen, you've been doing this a little longer than Sharon. What difference do you think it'll make to people?
Well, I think that diaries hold things that we don't tell other people, that they are a vault for things that we don't necessarily share. And much of the intercultural and international journeys are not really shareable. And so unless you're with someone who gets it. And so my hope is that every listener, on maybe not every episode, but in many of the episode, will recognize themselves and will recognize the challenges and will recognize the possibilities that lie in those challenges, and they'll see how other people handled it.
That's a really magnificent statement there. I think that's the most important thing, is that they recognize the similarity that their other people, or these people you interview, bring, and how they can win in that situation or make changes that'll help them be better. Doreen or Sharon, either one, what format are you going to be using for the podcast?
Well, we will have Doreen as the host and myself as co-host, and we will have one guest. Frequently, we may have two at a time, but we'd really like for the audience to experience that person's story, their story of their travel, how it affected them, how they overcame challenges. And we'll be producing a vault of episodes, and then hopefully our goal is to release one a week.
Do you have anything to add to that, Doreen?
No, I just think our topics are going to be varied. We have already interviewed a few people, and so far we've interviewed a professor of intercultural competencies. We have interviewed an intercultural trainer who helps expats launch to go overseas. We've interviewed several authors. We've interviewed one woman who has a one-woman show on the subject of growing up as a TCK around the world. And I believe that as we gather you, our audience, together, we will be finding and seeking the guests that suit you, so that you can be supported and encouraged on your journey.
Now, you said something that many people won't understand, TCK. Can you elaborate on that, please?
I'd be happy to. A third culture kid is a child who is raised outside of their parents' native culture. And so if you are born overseas, or if you grow up overseas and you are educated overseas, maybe you've lived in 10 different cultures or 3 different places. You possibly are a TCK. There are also CCKs, cross-culture kids. And those are kids who are the byproduct of more than one nationality. And so there's a lot of information on TCKs nowadays, and we will have probably at least one entire season eventually on TCKs.
You started talking about some people you interviewed. What are the main criteria you're using to select your guests?
Right now, we have interviewed a lot of people who are authors. Number one, they're people who have years of experience. We realized during one episode that we had like 80 years of expat experience on the call. And so that's one of the things, is either an experience across multiple cultures over a long period of time with some lived experience, or some educational experience, and or a great story to tell, because many people have found themselves in their third chapter as being expats, finding and digging into their stories and what made them launch, what motivated them. There's just so much. It's such a huge topic and so rich.
Right. So, Sharon, where are you located to where you're recording all these podcasts?
We are in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. It is in the state of Guanajuato, Mexico. in the highlands or central part of Mexico, which is a beautiful area. Doreen and John have a home base here now, and I, like many others, have fallen in love with the area and spend most of my time here. If anyone is interested in becoming a guest or subscribing to our bonus episodes, they can let Doreen or myself know if they want to be a guest at doreencp@gmail.com or Sharon Fields 2013@gmail.com. We have bonus episodes that will be coming out, and we'll have more information on the podcast show notes as we release the episodes.
Doreen, Sharon just mentioned you're going to have bonus episodes. What do you think you're going to do for bonus episodes?
Well, a couple of things. I'll give you an example. There will be a piece on death and dying overseas as an expat. There will be, just recently, a woman passed away who was very adventurous and went to Saudi Arabia in 1959. I wrote about her story in the first book, Life in the Camel Lane. And so I read her story. So we intend for the bonus materials to cover everything from launching, living overseas, building a business while you're doing this, all the way to landing back home or retiring overseas. So literally, we're kind of soup to nuts at this point, and we really look forward to you, the listener, guiding us into what is it that you most want to hear. We want your voice to be heard on this podcast by your voting and your communication and telling us, what is it you most want to hear about?
Doreen, you mentioned Life in the Camel Lane. Where can people find your book so they can get a lot of details on your experience?
Life in the Camel Lane is Embrace Your Adventure, is on Amazon. And if you're in San Miguel, you can pick one up at the Biblioteca. And there are a few other bookstores that have some copies around. But the next book is Arriving Well, Stories of Belonging After Living Overseas. And that is also available as an ebook on Amazon. And the next book that I'm currently working on is, it's either going to be called Home Again, Jiggity Jig, or Aftermath. It's on the subject of repatriation and how to go back home. And so that will also be available on Amazon one day.
If listeners are interested in contacting their guests, how will they be able to access the guests' addresses or guest information?
We will have the guest links provided in the show notes of our episodes of the podcast. And at this point, we hope to have our podcast on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts.
Very nice. And finally, do you have a website for your podcast or for your business, Doreen?
Yes, the best place to go right now is to go to Buzzsprout. And on Buzzsprout, there is a Nomadic Diaries website, or you can find us on Facebook at simply Nomadic Diaries. And we will be communicating through Facebook for the moment. And as the episodes build, they will all be lodged inside Buzzsprout. And as Sharon so aptly said, they will be shared to all of the podcast sites.
Close attention to our Facebook page so that you can see tidbits and release notes.
And please like and follow.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you'd like to say, Sharon?
I'm just very excited to be doing this with Doreen and yourself, John, and it's going very smoothly. So fingers crossed, we'll release our first episode very soon.
And Doreen, you have a final comment?
Yes, I'm thrilled. I am really enjoying this collaboration with Sharon, and as always, I enjoy your support, John. And it's a learning curve, but this is what the podcast is all about. How do we learn to fall in love with the tight corners and the strange places and the disorganization and the hard parts of life, and transform them in the middle of these transitions? And so I really look forward to producing lots of fun, wonderful episodes that will make you, the listener's life, easier and more manageable as a digital global nomad or expat.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Hopefully we'll see you on the podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.